All right, troops, welcome to the Action Elite. My name is Owen. So tonight we are doing much anticipated versus of Under Siege versus Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. But before we begin, do a heads up, they are having some tech issues tonight since like Facebook and Instagram and everything has been. I keep getting kicked off of things. So if we do cut out, it's not you, it's me. So, we'll try and keep things going anyway, and the guys will just continue talking if I should get kicked off. So without any further ado, I shall bring in the squad and we shall begin this epic versus. So first, what's up? And then we're going to welcome back John Juror from Action Flicks. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Good. And then we got, get my pie out of the oven, Charlie.
Get my pies out of the oven. What's going on, guys?
And we have return of Sean. How are you?
What's up, everyone? Long time no
see. And last but certainly not least, we have Steven. Emperor Steven, but I have an Emperor
corner on Hollywood Squares.
That's right. We need a middle square somewhere.
Exactly.
No, my
Brady Bunch. Hello, friends. Hello, Eric.
What's going on, brother?
Oh.
So I hope you're watching. Right? Yep. So we're going to start off talking about Under Siege and Under Siege 2. That is tonight's topic of discussion. Now, before we start talking about that, I just want to make a plight for why you should keep physical media. Now, I have, thankfully, a Steven Seagal box set, which has Under Siege 2, Above the Law, Executive Decision, and something else, Hard Skill. And I was looking to watch Under Siege 1 and 2 yesterday, not when I was at work, of course, because I would never do such a thing. But there was Under Siege 1 and 2 aren't on any streaming services, so you had to like rent them from YouTube. So keep your physical media, kids, because if you don't, then you're not going to get to watch them. So that's just why you should have it, and why streaming is not the way for me. I always preferred saying, I have the disc here, I can put it on, let's watch the movies. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say anyways, that just keep your physical media. So we'll start off looking at Under Siege. So I'm going to start off with Sean, because he's not been here for a while, so all the pressure's on you. What are your thoughts on the original classic Under Siege with Steven Seagal?
Well, the original is wicked. I didn't see it in the theater. I saw part 2 in the theater, but I always thought it looked like really big budget stuff. Just because of like the settings and everything of that place. And it looks like money because of all the big stars in it. You know, like Busey at the time, and Tommy Lee Jones was super hot for some reason. and yeah, no, it's awesome. I always thought it was quick-paced, fast stuff. Yep, there he is. That was kind of stunning when I saw. I was like, "What the hell is happening here?" It's like, is there a change of character or something?
Yeah.
And part 2, I remember being hyped for that because I got the Cinescape summer preview back in the day, and it had that was one of the movies, and no one really cared about it, but I was like, part 2, it's a whole franchise now, and I remember them boasting about the amount of green screen shots. I guess that's something you boast about. I don't know. And when you watch it, you could totally see like like the background moving with the camera and stuff. But I thought that was an awesome movie too, and we'll get into all that because I know a lot of people don't like it. Maybe, I guess, like at the time it didn't make a lot of money. But I think it's sort of the dark horse of these two. But I've always seen them as sort of like even keel. And maybe that's an unpopular opinion. I don't know, but yeah.
Well, I missed the whole last 30 seconds of what you just said because I got kicked out again. I'm sure it was interesting.
They're both awesome.
He said it was awesome.
Yeah.
He likes Under Siege 1, and he was pumped for what 2
brought tears to my eyes, guys. It's just so.
So that's what that meant. I wondered my whole life what that
We
scene
can never
meant.
repeat
Thanks,
that
Sean.
moment ever again.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it's actually funny. This wasn't even a deliberate thing, I don't think, whenever I decided to do this versus, because it's another Die Hard clone, because we did Sudden Death last week and then we're doing this week. But I got to give a shout out to Gary Busey in this movie because I think he's actually the real villain. To me, Tommy Lee Jones is just funny. He's not intimidating or scary in any way. He's just like, it's him being Two-Face basically again. Was it before or after Batman Forever?
Before.
I feel like
Before.
it's before.
I think it was
yeah.
before.
Just before.
Yeah. But like Gary Busey, like I love the scene where I don't love the scene because he's drowning his own men, but whenever he's drowning his own men, and then Colin Meaney says, "Well, I bet they fucking love you now."
They didn't like me anyways.
It was such a natural piece of dialogue when you're just like, yeah, that's what you would say in that situation. Yep. But I thought that was a great scene. Obviously, there's of course the cake scene, which is one of the greatest scenes of all time. I do not have a GIF or video for that. Cancelled if we post that, but
at least not one that you're sharing.
No, I mean, I have it, but
I can pull up on my phone. I can pull up on my phone if you want me to. I'll just swipe it.
Oh, it's my screensaver. I'll just show you.
You got to pause it just right, though. It's got to be the exact perfect.
Oh, I know where to pause it.
Every
45 minutes and 50 seconds.
Every rented VHS jumps right there for some reason.
Yeah, every time I rent that movie, I put it in. I'd be like, wait a minute, why is it at this part again?
Rewind it. Oh, wait, someone's been rewound 10 seconds every time. Yeah, so
6 minutes in and boobs, guys. That's a new personal record.
What took us so long, really?
Exactly.
I mean, we're slipping definitely.
Well, we weren't going to talk about Under Siege and not talk about the twins, right?
No, I mean you got to.
Had to.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean, yeah, we'll end up being cancelled by the end of the stream, but whatever. Who cares?
Action Elites just lost 7 subscribers.
Oh wait, no, 700. Oh no, gained 1,000.
That's it.
Yeah, see, Under Siege to me is probably Steven Seagal's best film in terms of budget, like just a sense of scale to it. I mean, it looks great. You got great set pieces. But one thing which I've always found, and you're gonna be like, what, is that there isn't enough hand-to-hand combat in it, and I actually find it a bit slow to get going. And I was like, it's like 45 minutes before Seagal actually even like kills anybody, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the action's still good though. I love the cast, particularly Erika Eleniak, who should have got an Oscar. So that's my thoughts on the movie. So right, well, John, you've been gone for a while, so over to you. Your thoughts?
Yeah, like you just said it. I mean, it's as big as it's a spectacle. Like you got the cast, you got the budget, and you got. And funny thing is, I told my wife this. I was like, I watched Under Siege the other day, and I was like, I never saw Steven Seagal get a roundhouse kick up that high. When he kicks that guy in the head when he's holding on to the two guys. I'm like, I rewound. I'm like, wow. I'm like, whenever has he gotten his leg that high? But yeah, and plus, did you guys notice? There's this is a Die Hard clone, and his is as spectacular as Bruce Willis's is, but he also jumps off from an explosion too, off of the boat. Although his isn't in slow motion though. If they would have put it in slow motion, it would have been totally better than it was. But yeah, and I had the biggest crush on Erika Eleniak. Oh my god, I watched Baywatch all the time back then. So it was like, so
too bad she couldn't swim. We kicked her off.
I'm drowning.
She didn't need to. She floated. It was fine.
But I will say, Owen, you did hit it. Like it is kind of slow in a lot of parts, and like the action, like there's only sporadic action sequences throughout it. But my favorite part is when he dispenses the most amount of ammunition going through that corridor. He's got and I remember him talking about that in an interview time. He wanted to dispense as much blanks as he could in one scene, and that's how they did it. So that was a pretty cool scene. And then he goes into where he's fighting the guys that are trying to cut the the things that offload the missiles. But I'm gonna go. I mean, I think I know where J-Man's going, and I might surprise you too. Where like at the end of this verses, which one my favorite is. So,
but what you're saying though is that Steven Seagal fires blanks. Okay.
Well, a woman shoved her big boobs in his face, and he did not do what.
But did you see? It was kind of awkward though, because like I think he was going to reach for. It looked like he was going to reach for a boob, like at the end of the scene. And he's like this. I'm like, what are you grabbing? It's like,
what kind of babbling bullshit is this?
Yeah.
I'm surprised Alex hasn't said that already.
I'm just a lonely cook.
Yeah.
I also cook. But
then they got the scene where they have to explain how much of a badass is. Not only did he win the Navy Cross, he won it twice. It's like, so there you go, ladies and gentlemen. He's not just a badass; he's 2 times the badass. So
that's like every line in the second movie, which we'll get to as well, where it's just comedic. I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, Steve, your thought?
Yeah. I mean, when this movie came out, I think it was 91. I wanted to go see it. 91, 93, one of you ever. I was going to. I actually
92.
92.
92. Like right in
I was in between. I was all around it. I fully intended to see it in the theater. But I just never got a chance to. I think the Legend of Under Siege is actually better than the film is. It's still a very watchable film. I think it's underrated for its soundtrack. I love that whole thing with dun, 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 dun. Like it keeps playing, and I really like that theme because it's got a lot of great shots of the boat, and I love boats, so I'm a boat guy. So I'm in my element if they're on a boat. I think Alex a while ago, like there's that one line Seagal says that I absolutely have to laugh at now, where he's like, he says the guy's name, he's like, Gunner's mate.
Gunner's mate.
Like the guy got concussed and didn't know what he was. So he had to like tell him, like, you're the gunner's mate. Go man the gun, sort of thing. But it's a fun film. It's a weird film. Gary Busey and drag just sends it to a whole different level, because if you actually think about it, there's absolutely no need for that. But
there is no need for that.
There is zero need for it. It's just Gary Busey saying, I want to dress in drag, and Andrew Davis going, okay. So this is Gary Busey. If you know about Gary Busey, you're not surprised he's in drag.
That's how you knew there was something off about him. That's when it's like, whoa, it's like, and then years later, it's like
it makes sense. But Tommy Lee Jones, this is the first movie I remember seeing Tommy Lee Jones in, so shockingly, because the man had a career for years. But I loved his performance in it. He's just chewing scenery all the way through. When he's talking about Saturday morning cartoons, I'm right there with him, like the Swedish Chef and that. I'm like, oh man, that all makes sense. It's a slower film than I remember. I also love the boardroom. I love all the character actors in the boardroom because they're constantly petrified of everything.
Yeah, the guy's smoking all the time, Nick Mancuso.
And then the one nefarious CIA guy, and then the other guy who's panicking over everything. He's like, "Tell me they can shoot it down for Pearl," or something like that, something along that line. Like he's nervous about everything. But it's a fun '90s film. It's a movie I've seen several times, and I continue to enjoy.
Yeah, agreed. So I'll go to J-Man.
I like Under Siege. Obviously, it is slow. I thought it was slow when I first saw it, so I didn't come to the realization that it was slow. But I think what they were trying to do, like this got famous because it's a Die Hard clone, but also it's a bit of a movie that is trying to be sort of as realistic as you could possibly get while still having some sort of heightened reality. Like there's nothing super outrageous. He's not, 2 boats aren't crashing together and he's running away from it. But that's sometimes where, you get this slowness. It's like, right, like they're taking it over slowly. They wouldn't just come, they could just come in and shoot everybody, but like, they have to gather them all together, get their guards down, make sure that the weapons aren't there. Like there's a lot of planning ahead with the bad guys, which you don't really see too much of. It's like all these other Die Hard clones. It's kind of like, the bad guys are in here. They've gotten over, and then let's just get to the hero doing the action. Where this is like, there's a lot of setup. They're like, really, they want you to think like, okay, wait a minute. I know this is going to happen, and they want you to see how it happens. So I kind of think that's neat. But we'll get to it when we actually discuss the 2 of them. But it is a fun movie. Seagal's pretty good in it. It's not crazy. There's not a lot of fights because there wouldn't be a lot of fights, right? Like realistically, he would want to take out guys as best as he could, as fast as he could with whatever weapons he has. He does take breaks to concoct things, which I think would take longer than the movie shows. But anyway, he does that in the other one too. So that's fine. And this is the first time where I've noticed the thing that we always talk about, Sean and I, and we learned in school, the show Don't Tell, where they're like telling you about this guy because he's just a cook. You're like, okay, he's a cook. Yeah. But I think this is the first time where he plays like somewhat of a character. I think this is the character Casey Ryback should have continued on for most of his career. He should have come back every few years to do another one because I like that he's cool with everybody. Like it's like, hey Charlie, what's up, man? He's like, he's just
Cue
he's
ball.
cool with
Who's this cue ball guy? I feel like he's a
who's this-
celebrity, and I'm like,
I
why do I
know.
love this guy?
Like he's got his own like dance video or something. It's
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's trying to build a character here. He's got a personality. He's
Yes.
fun. He's fun with these characters. Like I like all the Seagal movies leading up to this, and this was sort of the they kept getting better, sort of, and then this got to like the peak of it, and then you could argue that maybe after this that they slightly stepped down, and now they're not great, but I still watch them. So yeah, Under Siege is the sort of the highest, the peak, the pinnacle of the Seagal stuff. It had big budget, made a lot of money. Siskel and Ebert gave it thumbs up, which is somewhat impossible to even imagine that happened. But like
they gave the second one thumbs up too. You said
they gave both movies thumbs up.
That's when critics were critical.
I would not have known that they. Gave
Yeah, well, they literally they're just like, look, it's a fun, entertaining movie. You're going to spend 2 hours. You're going to eat popcorn. You're going to have a blast. That's it. What more do you want out of Seagal? They even gave Above the Law. Both of them gave that thumbs up. Now that was a bit more like of a legit kind of a movie. This one's still a bit heightened. It's still a little bit weird. Above the Law is more gritty, right? Like gritty.
Same director too.
Yes.
So Andrew Davis does well with Seagal.
For sure. He like Seagal had personality in this. I mean, that's like astronomical. That should just that automatically
Right there.
makes it a classic.
That's the best ever performance, I would say, because I think he actually acts.
Yeah, or performance.
Performance.
It's the best or a performance.
Yeah. So before we get to Charlie, I bought the first Under Siege DVD from a closing video store on Dark Territory Blu-ray from $1 General RIP Video Store.
Nice.
Today, man.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough. I saw both of them in the cinema.
That's
Me
Wow.
too. Yep.
I didn't see either.
The Under Siege 2 one was hilarious. I'll get to that in a minute. But so, Charlie, what are your thoughts on Under Siege?
My turn. Well, this is my first Seagal movie. This is the first one I watched, so I started high with my expectation of
You reached the
Seagal.
pinnacle first.
I was like, this guy's amazing. Why is he not with Schwarzenegger or Stallone? But this was one of those, like when my dad started getting me into the action movies. He started out with like Delta Force and Rambo. Then it was like, okay, here's Under Siege. It's a warship. Dad loves that same stuff like Steven's talking about. I love ships. I love anything to do with battles, like more realistic. They actually filmed on a battleship, so it's not like a fake thing. I mean, there's fake sets in places, but a lot of like real video of the ship. And I loved it, man. As a kid, I was all in. I didn't understand what a Die Hard clone was. I just got to see this badass, like, Navy SEAL guy just taking down terrorists. And then I get introduced to the insanity of Gary Busey. And I'm just like, this dude's like a real live, like Saturday morning villain. He's insane. I love the scene when he gets his file from the captain's like quarters and he's reading it, and he's just like, do I look, disturbed or whatever it was? And he's like, no, not at all. And then I love Tommy Lee Jones, man. He's one of my top actors, especially from back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I think he's overlooked. Like a lot of people go, oh yeah, Tommy Lee Jones, he's an amazing actor. What's he been in? Like they'll name off a couple of like higher profile movies, and then you'll be like, man, he was in like Black Moon Rising, which was way back in the day. Then he was in Under Siege. I mean, he wasn't the huge guy we know today. And I loved him, man. I loved Tommy Lee Jones.
I think he's right. Could not be reaching for other comment.
Yeah.
It's kind of There's
it's
that,
kind of like
then,
his relaunch. Yeah.
Then we had the Fugitive and U.S. Marshals and everything. So
that's when he took off and like Hollywood recognized, oh shit, we have a leading man here again.
Yeah.
But I always loved Seagal in this one. What's that, John?
Did anybody ever see The Park Is Mine with him? I love that movie where he's the Vietnam vet that takes over
years
Central
ago.
Park.
Yeah, it's kind of a First Blood kind of.
That was like
that's what years ago.
That was like super early 80s, wasn't it? It was like 83 or something like that. Yeah. I haven't watched that.
I watched that all the time.
I've actually watched it all the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know he did that one. But no, this one was great. And then Under Siege 2 came out and it was like, holy shit, this is even better. It's like now we're on a train, now it's close quarters. And like J-Man says, this should have continued. This should have been like another Jack Ryan character that we follow that, that story arc and just put him in different situations. Put him in, leading the Secret Service or something. Literally
it doesn't always have to be a Die Hard thing. You could do something different. Just him on missions or whatever.
Do exactly like what they do with like Clear and Present Danger and stuff like that when they did Harrison Ford. But no, man, I was in for it. I love it. Also, fun little trivia. There's an amazing guy that's a unnamed henchman in the first Under Siege, and it's Kane Hodder. Kane Hodder plays a henchman in there.
Yeah.
When Erica gets captured and he has to shoot the guys, scares her. One of them is Kane Hodder there on the bridge deck. And then the guy that played Murdoch from the MacGyver series, his main nemesis in the show, he's on the sub that's doing the translating between Busey and the crew members. So fun little tidbits that I love in this movie. I love Under Siege, man. It's my favorite Seagal movie, period.
Okay. Has anybody in their lives ever met anybody with the last name of Stranix?
No, but it's badass, isn't it?
I'm still waiting to meet somebody called John Matrix as well. I've never met anybody either. It's like not enough people have action hero names in real life, and that upsets me. I think
I like Casey Ryback. I like that name.
Yeah, Casey Ryback.
It's just awesome, like it sounds like something a police lieutenant should be shouting. Ryback, when he's
I just think of the wrestler now.
Ryback.
Who's Casey fucking Ryback?
Yeah.
And Cole Meany, man. Chief Miles O'Brien, one of my favorite characters.
Cole Meany,
Love
Cole Meany's great. Yeah, he's one who says, "I bet they fucking love you now." That's I guess my favorite line. I'll get to my favorite line of the second movie when we talk. Has everybody got anything else to say about Under Siege, which they haven't said yet?
Erica pops out of a cake. Enough said.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. Yeah. So
swing.
So Under Siege 2, me and my brother Greg went to see in the cinema, and there were two other guys in the cinema. So I think that's why there wasn't Under Siege 3 or anything else. So I think his star was beginning to fall at that point. So and I remember when the end credits started to roll, the guys in the audience just went, "Shite," because this was back in Glasgow at the time. But me and my brother, we love Under Siege 2. It can be ludicrous for all of the faults of defying gravity, running through the train is just exploding at the end or whatever. I don't care. This is awesome and everything I want from an action movie. It has more fight scenes. It's better paced, and I love the villains, but also I also love the score. Basil Polidoris does the score. Conan, of course, and
it sounds more like epic.
It's so heroic,
thunderous.
But I love whenever Casey makes his entrance to this one. He comes out of the car and the music swells. And it's like it's Jesus. He's arrived.
But do you notice when he gets out of the car that first time? It's like the camera's on him for like 5 seconds. It's like there he is.
Yeah.
There he still is. It's Steven Seagal. Okay, let's
get
on with the rest of the movie.
Yeah. So once again, we'll probably get cancelled. But this is not only the best line of this movie, but maybe the best line in action movie history.
I broke my bra.
It's to die for. Hey, what?
I broke my bra.
You would not get away with that line today, that's for sure.
Why not?
That's a shame.
Especially when she goes like that.
Yeah, because guys.
She didn't even show a lot. She was just like.
No, it doesn't matter nowadays.
It doesn't matter now. You cancel.
It's break. I don't know. They do that sometimes.
Yeah, I know. So I know that's my favorite line from it, but
it's to die for.
I also love. To me, Everett McGill, who plays Penn in this one, he's my favorite villain of this franchise because he just looks scary as fuck.
He's a villain that I always say you never should work for the bad guy because he'll just fucking shoot you. I'm like, why is everybody working for this guy? If you make a mistake, he's gonna plug you in the head. And like towards the end, he just aims the gun at the guy. He's like, all right, I'm going. It's like.
This one
work for this man
with that guy with Everett is when I first watched this, my dad would show me old Johnny Quest cartoons, and this dude looked like Race Bannon personified. Like he had the right hair. Seriously, pull it up, look at it, pull up the cartoon
I own
image. Put them side by side, and
Oh
this
my
guy could have
God.
been a live action race man, and I can never get that out of my brain, like ever. And it's amazing. But I always wanted a live action Johnny Quest after watching Under Siege 2.
Yeah. But this one, it's funny. It's not, you don't have the same like A-list talent that you did in the first one, but you have the great sort of all the guys who were bad guys in like, 80s and 90s action movies. You got Patrick Kilpatrick, the Sandman himself.
Sandman, man.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's that. You got Graham Greene, who's the bad guy in every 90s movie. Zed himself.
Zed's dead, man.
Zed's dead, baby. And then Scorpion is ready for Predator 2. That's Predator 2. So you got some good henchmen in this too. So yeah.
And you got the sniper chick who never smiles. That
or speaks. She never says anything.
That's a goddamn word.
Yeah.
I don't think so. No.
She screams.
Yeah.
At the end.
It's funny. I always used to think that Morris Chestnut's character was sort of the annoying guy, but then when I watched it yesterday, I was like, he's not annoying at all. Actually, he's actually really entertaining. It must have just been a bad mood the last time I watched it.
Isn't it funny though? He becomes the villain in Half Past Dead with Seagal.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So just a little tidbit there.
We should have done Under Siege 2 versus Half Past Dead. I mean, people on Facebook like, why are you doing this versus it's so obvious, which is
I know.
Like,
I got one of those guys too. He's like, it's not even close. I'm like, okay.
That's not the freaking point. We want to talk about both. It's, take it fucking literal sometimes, man.
Right? Guess what, dickhead? It's not
That's
obvious.
why I got disenchanted like towards the end of last year. I was like, you know what? Fuck all you people. It's like every time I would post something, somebody would be negative about it. I'm like, shut up.
Oh my God. You guys come on. I fight all day for Facebook on Facebook. Every time I log in, there's 20 notifications. And it's like, J-Man, you're an idiot, whatever. And I always respond in the positive. I'm like, I am an idiot. I'm going to seek out counseling. Thanks. and like, I love you. I bet you once the streams are all check, because right now I'm arguing about some Indiana Jones stuff. But anyway.
Oh my God.
Oh dear God.
I like it. I like fighting. It's fun.
It fuels J-Man. It keeps him alive.
Well, you know what's funny? J-Man usually gets a comment, get a wife, and I'm like, look who's talking.
I've invited everybody. All the negative comments, I send my link. I'm like, firstly, subscribe to me. Secondly, come join me on the live stream and tell me how sucky I am. I'll put you on the screen. Then nobody responds to those.
I watched that amazing comment from some dickhead on your YouTube the other day, and it was your review, and he was like, well, what would you do for a story for Black Panther 2? And you wrote this amazing story out, and you're like, what's your Black Panther 2? No response. You're like, what's that dickhead? What?
That's because I stay up all night thinking of things to do. Like, I'm like, if I was making this, what would I do? That's more time than the people that made the movie. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's for sure. Oh my God, it sucks. Anyway, that's a story for another day. Yeah, so on to Under Siege 2. Sean, what are your thoughts on Under Siege 2?
As I said before, I think it's awesome. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, maybe it's better. I don't know. There are certain things that they smoothed out and corrected from the first one that I found, was lacking from the first one. Like for example, there's there are actual showdowns at the end of this one. It's like they build up Gary Busey and then they blow him up, and he's walking around in that sub and they blow him up, and I'm like, I thought there was gonna be a whole when I love Tommy Lee Jones, but like it's Seagal fighting like a poor old man. It's like
that's just mean. Tommy Lee Jones just looks old. Damn it! Come on.
He was 32 when that movie was.
Part 2 has the better fights in it and showdowns. I thought it's more satisfying that way. And the action ramps up. Like I think like 12 minutes in, they start shooting people. So like I know what they're trying to go for in the first movie. They're trying to be like a real movie, sort of like Delta Force, like with all the hostages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, part 2 knows what it is, and it's pretty awesome. The whole train thing I thought was unique. Because it's like, Die Hard on a train, I guess. This is awesome, and they still go out all out with like unique henchmen and stuff like that sniper woman and everything. So it's pretty good. It's a cut above. Like if you want to rate these as Die Hard clones, these were always a cut above, I thought, because they put a lot more thought into the villains and the henchmen and all that. Made them all unique and made them memorable, so that when you think back to the movie, there are things to remember, and it's not like a forgotten sort of haze or mirage, right? So, yeah, I think part 2 is awesome. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was marketing or something like that, but I remember it tanking, and that was the big story about this movie.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I don't know. I've always liked it. I rented it. I watched it on TV. I always thought it was awesome and on par with the first. So
I've got the numbers real quick. So Under Siege 1 was 35 million budget. It made 156 mil. So 156. The second one made 104 on a budget of 60. So
is it 104 still like back
104
then,
on a budget of
successful.
60 is still pretty good, but they really need to double.
Considered
It's the margins
bomb.
that screwed it up. You know,
anything over 100 million back in the 90s was considered.
Yeah, they weren't quite putting double the budget into marketing. There wasn't such thing as what we have now. But still, when I'm sure this was a bigger paycheck for Seagal, you know, and this was a lot bigger paycheck for a lot of people. And the effects, you got to realize they used a lot more special effects for this one than the first one.
Which may not be a good thing.
That's not in this time period where things are, you know, more expensive, but you have to do it to stay relevant on, you know, the theaters. So yeah, I'd say the margins are actually thinner than what we're looking at on just the numbers. So it was technically a failure to the studio that it was a failure.
Fair enough. Sorry, Ron. I haven't seen Ron for a while. How are you?
Yeah.
Under Siege is a perfect Sunday morning classic, whereas first movie is perfect Sunday evenings. Like I've seen 2 more than 1. I have to agree. 2 I can watch anytime. Under Siege 2 has that rewatchability where I'm like, I can just watch this anytime I want. Steven Seagal to play Jaws in next James Bond. Well, they'd certainly eat everything.
Yeah. Hey, he was great in Machete, man. I actually like his character.
Everyone's like, Machete sucks. And I was like, Machete was awesome.
Machete was badass, man.
What about Machete 1 versus Machete 2?
That would be
we should actually do that.
That's what he does.
It's like, you think this bothers me? This is nothing. And then cuts his own self. That's a fucking Steven Seagal way to go. I am the badass.
Yeah, nobody's going to kill me. I'm going to fucking kill me.
I'll see you in hell, Machete.
They just fucked with the wrong Mexican. Katherine Heigl's first role in 2, was it? Okay. We're not going to say anything because we're not quite sure.
No, My Father the Hero. Gerard Depardieu.
Yeah, because I think she was like 18 at the time, but we're going to move on.
She was 16.
Yeah, so we'll move on.
Yeah.
Because we were going to get cancelled after last week.
Yes. I was 16 when this movie came out, so
so was I.
I was fine.
That,
you know, so it's fine if I had a crush on her when I was that age. It's totally okay.
Yeah, that's the thing is that we're like dirty old men now. So,
well, now she's an irritating actress. So
whose career's over.
She's got a big bad reputation.
Yeah. Anyway, we've just talked shit about her, so we'll move on. So,
we're here.
Exactly. So. Yeah, one of the things which I love about this movie is like every 2 seconds someone has to mention how awesome Casey Ryback is. Like you have Katherine Heigl, I guess he's a hero, and then of course the music comes on.
Right?
Well, nobody says that ever. And then like all the bad guys, and I love this. They're like Ryback's recipes. And you're like Casey Ryback. Casey fucking Ryback, who's got, and a henchman appears, and another one appears, and another one appears, and it's like comedic. They're like, Casey Ryback, Casey Ryback, Casey.
He was my instructor. I'm like,
yeah.
Who is he? He's the best there is. And I was like, oh, nobody says that in my job.
Owen, what?
I work for myself, so I say it every day.
You're employee of the month every week.
Every month, man. I'm also the dumbass that screws everything up too, so it's totally fine.
You look around, there's nobody else to blame. Oh,
that's right, just me here.
Yeah. I also love Eric Bogosian in this movie because he just looks utterly unhinged in it. And seeing his
he was unhinged in real life, wasn't he?
I just love the way he delivers that line.
Yeah. And then you got Red Foreman in this thing, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got Clarence Boddicker, who's
Yeah.
in charge of everything at the beginning, which again, that's where I knew him from when I watched it. And I was like, hey, look, RoboCop kicked that guy's ass. Now he's in charge. And then later on, now it's like it's Red Foreman forever for me. But
Yeah.
there was tons, again, just like in the first one, just all these character actors that show back up. And the people that are in charge, that know, like Casey Ryback's on this train. Like, what the hell is he doing on this train?
He's like, they got some trouble now. It's like, do they?
Exactly, yeah. Unless you can disarm this thing, we're going to blow that fucker up. It's like, well, okay.
Yeah. I also one of my favorite kills is whenever Seagal's hanging off the cliff and the guy comes in, he's like, hello.
He's like, where's the disc? Down there.
Yeah. You guys just don't learn, do you?
Guy just looks down. Oh shit.
I like it. Then he jumps on him and starts elbowing him.
No. So Steve,
it's like, how do I get off this cliff that I've been hanging out for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
So, Steve, your thoughts?
Yeah. So I don't know. The theater I was in was pretty packed for this. I think everyone who didn't show up at Owen's theater showed up at mine.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I saw a classmate from high school in there, and he was like, "Oh, you're here to see this too, eh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's Under Siege, man. It's a sequel. Got to go see it." And we talked about Rumble in the Bronx briefly, and I'm like, "Oh, I thought you checked that out." And he was like, "No, I saw it years ago." So I'm like, "All right," because that came out years after it already had been released, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, I thought it was great. When I was watching it, I love Eric Bogosian in the movie because there's this great the Casey fucking Ryback thing is hilarious because Everett McGill is so calm.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, Casey fucking," and you see Eric Bogosian's like, "Wait a minute, he's scared. What the hell?" And and Eric Bogosian's like, "Who's Casey fucking Ryback?" Like he starts to get really nervous because like this guy's getting nervous, and he's the muscle. Eric Bogosian is that nerd. I love the fact like he has that fight with Everett McGill, and he just drops him into the chair, and he's like, "Go do your thing," basically. And then the computer boots back up and he gets this big smile on his face, like, "Oh, I'm back online." Yes. Like when he's not online, like he's utterly useless unless he's in front of a computer.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that.
Yeah.
And this was the problem. Well, not the problem. The thing about Under Siege 1 was you couldn't tell the difference between the two villains. Where this one, it was very obvious. You had the guy who was the military guy, who was the muscle. And you had the guy who was the thinker, who was behind the plan. Yeah. So I really like that distinction. Peter Green, I mean, he was a villain in every single frigging thing. And he has, to me, probably the most, I would say the most like gruesome death because he just grabs his head and pulls it back until he snaps his neck. And I'm just like, God, that would be a horrible way to die. Yeah, like just, pulling you back until you break your neck. I didn't love the effects in this movie, especially like closer to the end. Eric Bogosian falls out and you can see him at the bottom of the screen. And it's literally like you can see the frame changing. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I remember seeing it in the theater. I'm like, that's weird.
Even at the time, it was bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Even at the time, it was just bad. But it's a fun movie. I really, it's a lot quicker than the first one for sure. I just love that Casey Ryback is now this myth that wherever he goes, if someone finds out Casey Ryback's there, immediately all the villains panic. And I just love that. And Seagal, to me, Under Siege 1 has a great, pump up thing. It doesn't beat On Deadly Ground, Arlie Ermey, because his speech is absolutely hilarious, and it goes on and on. And it's him doing it, the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. I'm like, I just love it because he just like he could stop now, but he just keeps going. But this movie is terrific. I love the plot a lot. They're on the train, so they're harder to track, and then they're going into dark territory, so it's impossible to track them. I think this movie is terrific. And it's a lot of fun, and I literally see very little drop off between 1 and 2. There's one I think is better, but like both films are terrific to me. So
yeah, agreed. J-Man.
Oh well, okay. So I mean, this movie's a masterpiece. I don't know what people are talking about. It's like this is clearly the best Seagal movie. There was never a doubt in my mind. I never got a memo that this wasn't the best. It has all the Seagal isms that you want. Everyone talking him up and all this crap, but then he actually shows why he is the best. I have one super nitpicky negative, and it really actually bugs the shit out of me in this movie that he says I'm not that good of a cook. And it really bugs me because I wanted him to be the best cook also because it makes it more fun. Because he was cooking for the captain. And he's like, I'm the only one that cooks for the captain in part 1. I felt that was a character thing. They made a mistake. They should have said, I cook a damn fine souffle or something, or I don't know, whatever, right? But this movie's a masterpiece. First of all, Everett McGill is like, has the greatest thing in any action movie. She's like, I've got mace, and he's like, psh. She's like, firstly it's pepper spray, and once you get used to it, it's nothing. I'm like,
clear the sinuses.
And then I'm like, what year was this? And then you check, you're like, so 1995. No one thought of this until 1995. Give this man an Oscar. Who thought of that? And I pray that it was Everett McGill just thinking about it on the spot, saying, well, what if I just don't even react to it? Because it's just so awesome. This movie builds up the villains as super duper smart. This guy has outsmarted all of the tech people, all of the high ups in the government. And then you've got your military guy who's better than anyone else, takes everybody out. It's fast. It gets right into the action. And then the only thing that can stop them is Casey Ryback. And that is cool to me. It's like they and the government's trying stuff. Oh, there's other satellites. There's these fake ones. We'll pick one. We can try to take some down. They're in the dark territory. There's a reason why they're on the train. They're not just on the train because it's Die Hard on a train. They're on the train for a reason. And that's cool. And there's, as Sean said too, it's like there's like battles. Like he fights each guy. He takes each guy out. He's got the sidekick, and the second the sidekick comes in, you're like, "Oh fuck, here we go. This is gonna be bad." And you're like, I don't know, I kind of like this guy. Then he's climbing the ladder on the going up and like fighting with the girls. Like, oh, okay, this guy. Okay, what the shit? This guy stepped up. I'm like, I like this guy, because it's like he's got to be worthy of the girl, right? I don't know, man. I can't. The effects weren't that good. Well, the fucking effects weren't that good. Like there's 4,000. Like, we just talked about sudden death, where there's the the friggin' perpendicular thing going, right? So like whatever, man. Like I didn't watch this like whatever 2-hour masterpiece of action to be at the end. Well,
it's only 90 minutes.
90 minutes, whatever it is. Masterpiece. I didn't watch his masterpiece to have to be Eric Bogosian, it looked weird at the end. It's like, oh, whatever. Eric Bogosian is the best voice in the world. Talk Radio is a great movie, and him talking, every line of dialogue he says is the best. Like, I don't know. This movie's like clearly the best Seagal movie. It's clearly an amazing action movie. I don't know. I think it's a big divide. I think Under Siege was pretty good. I liked it. It's a bit slow. Like, I'm kind of like, yeah, okay, I got you. The terrorists are taking over. This one's like right away, and all the lines are good. It may be a little bit too. It is faker. It's faker than Under Siege. Under Siege is more realistic.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people. I gotta tell you something. Let me tell you this. People are like, "Oh, it's Under Siege 1's better." I think they're being a little snooty. I think deep down, they know deep down that fucking Under Siege 2 is the best. They're just like, well, I have to pretend I'm a filmmaker, and part one is a much better film. The characterization, the cinema. I took all the film courses. Sean took them all. Steve took them all. We know
like the Batman.
Oh God,
the Batman people. Well, you have to understand that the Batman.
You don't understand. Batman has to stand in the dark for 3 hours.
Yeah, that was my review. No, listen. You could say Under Siege 1 is your favorite, but it's part 2. I think deep down it's part 2. That's the one you want to watch. Yeah. Your DVD player, your Blu-ray player saying, please.
You know which one you watch more.
So. Yeah, put Dark Territory in. Like when it sees Under Siege 1 coming, the disc, it's like, hold on. Are you sure you don't want to put part 2 in? And then you're like, yeah.
Just watch part 2 twice instead.
So yeah, there's spoilers. I like Under Siege 2 way more.
Yeah. So, Charlie.
Man, I gotta follow J-Man.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. All I can say is, man, if your lead tech guy commits suicide but leaves a note that says "chance favors the prepared," put up some extra fucking safeguards.
Right.
That dude is coming back. And the CIA didn't learn from teaching Stranix how to take over enemy subs that now we've taught someone how to build fucking satellites that are lasers that can look at chicks' tits on the beach. I mean, come on, man. No, I love.
That's the first thing any of us are doing, Charlie.
Yeah,
So, that's the first thing anyone does.
You could have gone to a cornfield and picked out a cow.
Right.
You went straight to the beach, but no,
she's by herself. There's no one around.
Totally by herself. Oh gosh, she's turning around. They just zooming in even further.
Which, let's face it, that's what any man would do.
There was only one dude, and we found out why. It's the only reason he was saying anything out loud. But no, man, I love Under Siege 2, man. This one, when this came out, was like 95. I was 15 years old. This was a 15-year-old fucking action movie, man. It's had everything. The action starts fast. Katherine Heigl, to a 15-year-old, was cute as hell. Already had seen Under Siege, and by that time I had filled in some of my Steven Seagal gaps. So I was like, I'm down for Casey Ryback coming back. He was still a damn good cook. I don't know what you're saying, man. J-Man, he had a restaurant. I know they gave him that line, but he had a restaurant. He's cooking a cake on the train, and he puts it in the microwave. I was going to change my name to get my cake out of the microwave, but I didn't have enough room. So but I'm pissed that they didn't throw back to that comment, to that get my pie out of the oven, yell at someone, go get my cake out of the microwave, during the whole thing happening. But I love all the henchmen in here. The henchmen are by far the best part of Under Siege 2. All of them. Everett he really does stand up to the villains from Under Siege. Both of them by himself. That guy versus like Gary Busey and Tommy Lee Jones. I like Everett so much more. The other guy, what's his actual name? The tech guy. He just looks like what every 90s tech guy I imagine from those movies. He's a little zany, a little manic. He's only as powerful as that disc lets him be. And and he's also a cocky motherfucker because he's like, bonjour, I am in France, now I'm over here, now I'm over there. Oh, you'll find this satellite among the 50 others I have floating around. It's like this guy was prepared. And I love the story of this one, man. And Casey Ryback just kicks ass the entire movie. Top of the train, bottom of the train, through the train. Yeah, the effects suck. When the main effects, not the other stuff. You still had great bullet squibs, deaths. But when he's hanging from the cliff, it wasn't Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible style. It was Casey Ryback standing on a padded foam with a green thing behind him on something that was like 6 foot tall.
Part of the fun.
Because he doesn't look like he's straining at all, hanging off of that cliff. It's just like
he's not
just biding my time till the camera moves off of me. I like his sidekick through there. I still laugh every time where he's like making fun of Casey. You know about that, right? Flapping the bustier in front of
covering concealment.
Covering concealment.
This is being shot. This isn't being shot.
This isn't being shot. He totally Steven Seagal never really gets his ass kicked later on as the movies progress. I think his first two are the ones he probably got his ass kicked the most in, where he shows like damage, like Nico and stuff like that. But I think later on it was just finally like, no, you can scratch me. You might get a punch on me, but you're not going to hurt me. That's why it's like, this is nothing. I'm not worried about this at all. But no, it's fun. It's a blast. It's fast. I have watched Under Siege 2 more than Under Siege, but we'll get to my final thoughts when we get there.
Okay. In answer to Ron's question, which one has the better fights? This one, because it has more fights. Doesn't Seagal only fight Tommy Lee Jones at the end?
Pretty much.
There's like a couple of
he fights the two guys in the kitchen, and then after the big fight in the corridor, he has that big fight with the five guys. Where he puts the guy into the drill. With
the bandsaw kill that should have been in sudden death.
Actually.
So we're just going through some of these comments.
I like Ramsey versus Ryback. That'd be good. Cook off.
Corner Ramsey.
Okay, John, last.
Yeah, like well, you guys all said it. It's got like a B movie level honesty to it. Like where the first one was like, big budget. This was kind of like, something that would get released on video first, but it came to the theaters, and I saw both of them in the theaters. And I just like, and this is like Seagal, like he's not skinny anymore, but he's not obese, so he wears the big fucking coat through the whole movie. And it's just, I always found that funny because like, he's like running around, he's on a cliff, but he still has the nice jacket on. And I was walking with my wife today, and I was told her I watch his movies. I go, you have to watch Seagal run, and we get vintage Seagal running at the end when he's running away from the explosion. Oh, yeah. He just looks ridiculous when he's running. I just can't. It's just, you gotta love it. And then the cliff, he's catching just like there's an inch of rock sticking out, but he catches it just perfectly with his hand. He's like, yep, okay, good, I'm good, I'm hanging there. It's like, and then his foot is able to touch, like the perfect piece of rock sticking out, Yep. It's like if that guy didn't rappel down, he would have not gotten off that cliff. There was no way he was getting off that cliff because he was onto the only two things that cliff was offering. But yeah, better fights, better villains. The only thing I was kind of bummed about, at least in the first one, we had the Playboy Playmate take her top off. The one in this one didn't. I was like, what the fuck's up with that? It's like, because the one that was running the bar, she was a Playboy Playmate, and she's like, it's like she was fully dressed the whole time. I'm like, why was that?
This is the point for that then, yeah.
Yeah, right. It loses the point. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I like the other girl from Hot Shots. I like the other girl that got killed in the beginning. She's from Hot Shots.
Brenda Bach.
Brenda.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my favorite too. It's like when he's got them both sitting there, and he's like, you guys are, whatever, and he's like, is this what this is about? He's like, yeah, I hijacked a train because I care about who you're fucking. That's like, I love that. But like I said, like when Jamie started kind of mentioning it, and you've already kind of mentioned it. Like I have the one where it's Under Siege and Under Siege 2, and like every time I take it out, I'm like,
flip it.
Number 2. It's like, so yeah, and then the ending is just hilarious. And then when you see Eric Bogosian hanging on, and the look on his face at the end, it's priceless. It's bad CGI. We know it. Well, it's CGI even before they had CGI. So it's like
this was earlier.
Yeah.
They didn't have Jurassic Park money.
No.
But see, it was the effects and everything. It just added to the sheer entertainment value. I mean, me and my brother were like crying watching this movie in the cinema. We were laughing so much. We're like, I need to watch this movie again. It's one of my favorite movies. And I was like, the more ludicrous an action movie is, the more I like it. Like he's running as the train is crashing, defying gravity, and it's just crashing all around him.
And he's just
like running through along the train.
And he makes it right in. He jumps right in right before the thing. It's like, oh, congratulations.
This would have happened if Cannon kept going into the 90s. This would have been that type of Cannon movie.
Oh, Seagal definitely would have rocked Cannon movies if they were still around. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I like at the beginning because, like, he's not in the Navy anymore, but he gets dropped off by that guy. And then he's got his, second in command cook. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, you can't tell me what you were doing. So it's like, we still know he's doing something badass. He's doing
some wet work.
He's not only a cook anymore, he's a badass, because we know he's doing something secret for the government.
You see this Silver Cross? This is my dad's, but my uncle has like 2 of these, and some I can't even see. He can't show anyone his medals. It's like, okay,
they could do a prequel.
Get it?
Exactly.
They could do a Seagal where Seagal's old now and he's thinking back to, and then they could. Oh, I guess they wouldn't want to recast someone to be Casey Ryback young, but the 2 brothers going on missions and doing stuff together or whatever.
That would have
been interesting.
Sitting in McDonald's thinking back of it.
I'll take three Big Mac combos, please. Three Don't you normally get 4, sir? I'm on a diet.
trying to cut this down, boy.
Yeah. Do you want 2 pies for 99 cents? Like, no, just the one. That's
no, and then do like Tenacious D, half Coke and half Diet Coke.
Unless you my figure, yeah.
Is that everything I wanted to say about these movies?
Is that everything I wanted to say?
Yeah, that's everything I wanted to say. Yeah. Basil Polidoris' score. I love it though. I love the theme tune. And I miss theme tunes. I say this all the time. I miss theme tunes in movies. It's like,
yep.
you would have thought with the Marvel movies they would have better theme tunes for the heroes. So
They only have
iconic
that are memorable, like the Avengers tune.
The Avengers theme, and then
that's it.
Well,
that's really it.
Captain America's.
Yeah. But you have to
Captain
strain to
America's
remember
enough,
what it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is that they never use them enough. But like in Under Siege 2, anytime Seagal's doing anything, it's like let's play the theme tune. Who was this?
Oh, it's Nate.
Is that already?
That's Nate, yeah.
I'd watch it.
I would watch.
You know we would watch that, Nate. We're covering that, period. We're going to fanfic and cover our own Under Siege 3 movie.
What would the next location have been? What do you think they would have gone for the next if they're doing the location?
I think they would have
space. Under Siege in space. Citizens on patrol. Damn it, Sean.
That's Sean. That's my poster.
Reference, man.
I've got the Citizens on Patrol poster right above my head. You can't see it.
I think for number 3, he should have been recruited into Megaforce and been running around in the motorcycle.
Oh, dude, that would have been insane. I love that. I don't know, where would you go? Because I mean, like we were talking about, if you went like the Jack Ryan thing, sometimes they were like the ostentatious action movies, then they kind of calmed it down a little bit. I think he would have ended up being like an advisor or something, or something to do closer to with like the Pentagon, or something to that effect. And then there was only a mission that he was specifically trained to at least lead or put together, and then somehow he gets caught up in having to actually go on his own.
Well, not to say anything that's like repeating Die Hard, but I think it should have went like with Die Hard with Avengers, where it branched out into the world.
Has anybody done Die Hard at McDonald's yet?
I don't think so. I'd watch that.
They're not big enough. It's like,
they could do a phone booth. They could Die Hard in a phone booth.
Or you have another country that like kidnaps him, like he was on one of those wet work missions, and now he's like behind enemy lines. Olympus was falling, but it's just Seagal has fallen again.
My pants have fallen. Anyway, so we'll go to like what is our favorite one. So for me personally, no contest. Under Siege 2 all the way. It's actually maybe one of my favorite Seagal movies, if not my favorite. I've watched it so many times. I think it's an absolute riot. I think the first one is probably the better movie, better budget and everything else. But this I think is a better action movie. I just think more happens in it. There's more fight scenes. The only problem I have is when he's doing the fight scene at the end with Everett McGill, it's obviously sped up. Flipping him over, and it's like waiting for the Benny Hill music to come on. And it's like so fast, but even then, when you watch the knife fight between him and Tommy Lee Jones in the first one, it's edited so much, So
I heard about that fight. There was like they had a knife expert look at that knife, and there were so many mistakes made in that fight that. It was
also longer, and it was cut up. Like Tommy Lee Jones's death was actually a lot more gruesome. Mm-hmm. Like they stay on the part where he stabs him in the head a lot longer, and then they really shove him into the computer monitor, and they had to cut it. It was one of those things that was too violent. Stress limit of his belt. I like that.
So yeah, Under Siege 2, better score. I gotta say, better villains, better henchmen. The only thing the first one has over it is Erika Eleniak, for that obvious reason. But yeah, for me, definitely. So much for being one-sided, guys. Under Siege 2 all the way for me. Sean, over to you.
Oh, part 2. I've seen part 2 more than part 1.
Same.
And it's just more fun and quicker paced. I mean, like as I say, like they're right into the action 12 minutes in. Gunshots don't go off in part 1 until like a half hour in, and before that everyone's like unnaturally arguing over the food, and there's something wrong immediately. It's just more cartoonish than serious, so I don't know. But yeah, no, part 2 was way better, and like as I say, there's more fights and more battles and more showdowns in it, so I enjoy all that. So part 2 for me.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, I think part 2 is a better movie. I actually enjoy part one a bit more, but that's I was telling J-Man yesterday. It's like because I like boats more than trains. That's it.
Yep.
That's literally why.
Well, you're allowed to do because it's like that. It could be as simple as that. If they're both equal in the if we do our ratings, if they're all equal, then you just kind of like boats better.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, if I'm being like, serious and about everything, 2 has the better plot. 2 is faster. 2 has the better characters. I kind of like Katherine Heigl in it, and it's strange because I don't like her in anything, but I kind of like her that she's able to fight for herself, and she does that weird cheek thing with him.
Yeah,
try and get
him. She enjoys.
Yeah. He's like,
that was good.
That was wonderful.
I just like, Morris Chestnut. I expected to be a complete pain in the ass, and he was shockingly really good. Erica Eleniak, other than answering the phone from the war room, she doesn't have much of a character. She doesn't like guns. I like all that stuff. I like the better distinction between the 2 villains. I always liked Everett McGill. He was in Silver Bullet as a priest. I thought he was terrific in that film. There's more fights. They take advantage more of the vehicle into, like, they're up on top of it and they go off the train and stuff like that. Where on Under Siege, you're sort of confined to the boat, and they keep going back. I've always found this word. They kept going back to the crew, like hitting the doors or stuff to try and like. But I'm kind of like, you're not doing anything. We understand this is a one-man army movie, and it's going to be up to Casey Ryback to save everyone. So continuing to go back to the crew really didn't make a lot of sense to me. I just think 2 was the more fun movie. If you're looking at the action things and everything, it's hands down 2. But that doesn't take away from 1. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy them both, but for me, it's 2 is the one I watch more. So that's simple. J-Man, do we even need to ask you?
Well, they're both in the upper tier of the Seagal movies, and then if you factor in every Seagal movie, they're definitely in the upper tier. But because I've just watched about 7 or 8 in the last month that are all not great. But I still like them anyways. But anyways, no, Under Siege 2 is the damn best Seagal movie. It's easy. I think that, and then maybe Marked for Death, and then Out for Justice are kind of my 3 favorites. But Under Siege 2, obviously, music, everything. I like when the character is pumped up. It's like, I know the character is pumped up. The people in the movie know this character is pumped up. The musical score knows this character is pumped up. The cameraman knows he's pumped up, because when he shows up, it's like, oh shit, here he is. And you know what happens when it's movies are like that? You get excited. There's just something in your brain that triggers. You're like, oh yeah, fuck, here we go. And it's like, you're going to see a Seagal movie. You know all these things, but the way they put it together still got me excited. I've seen Under Siege 200 times. I don't need to. I did rewatch both, to be fair, because I really always liked part 2 and thought 1 was like a good movie, but that's it. So I rewatched 1 and 2. So I think I'm a bit more down on part 1 than all of you guys. I still like part 1. I think it's a good movie, but this one's really good. And maybe, and I was thinking this too, maybe part 1 is a better film for an audience to go and enjoy and be like, wow, that was pretty good. But if you're an action oriented person, I think part 2 is clearly better, in at least for the enjoyment of it. And that's what, it boils down to, right? But yeah, I mean, obviously part 2, but I just like that he's pumped up in it and everybody knows it. And I like the villains. They're crazy. I remember that pepper spray thing. I'm like, wow, this is so funny. I've never seen that before. And then Everett McGill's the dad from People Under the Stairs, who is I love that movie. I love him in that. I don't know. Yeah, it's awesome. I think it's clearly the best Seagal movie. It had a $60 million budget. So, I mean, this wasn't like some piss, movie that they just spliced together or whatever. The first one had a $35 million budget, so this had a lot more. I guess the scope was bigger, but it did everything a sequel should do, in my opinion.
This one had a bigger budget than the first one, but yeah, it looks lower budget. Just funny.
I think just because, according to IMDb, I don't know, Wikipedia, so I don't know, but I think maybe just because more actors, they had more, the train is tougher, all that stuff with the crashing and everything is pretty
a lot of miniature work and stuff
that. A lot of work or whatever.
He runs
No, he
off
does-
the train
Yes, he
Yeah.
does.
to get out.
Yeah, so he's doing that and defying gravity
His
while everyone's
arms.
floating around.
Oh,
him,
I
yeah.
mean, I just saw Patan, and the train is going off the tracks, and they're running and jumping as the carts
Right.
fall off. I'm like, oh, Seagal could have done this too. He
Yeah.
should have been right
It's
there.
Legolas again. Yeah.
So yeah, I like part 2 way more. It's my favorite Seagal movie. That's it.
Awesome. Okay, John.
Number 2, like I said, it's got like that B movie level kind of fondness for me to it. It's got more action. It's got more Seagal doing. Like I said, it's like right before, like, you know, because after that, you know, his movies kind of like, you know, started going down, you know. But although I don't know why, but I love the Glimmer Man. I love him with Keenan Ivory Wayne's in that movie too. I love their chemistry because he still had a personality, even though you knew he was ballooning up at that time. But yeah, Under Siege 2, like I said, I mean, the only thing that, you know, I was disgruntled about was the playmate ticket. But that's the only thing.
Fair enough.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I could find wrong with it. But like I said, better kills, you know, and like. It's just pure Seagal. It's this guy's talking him up, and it's like we can't. And again, for the rest of the time we mention him, we can't just call him Casey Ryback. We gotta call him Casey fucking Ryback.
Yeah,
So we can't
Casey
just say Casey
Ryback.
Ryback. We gotta say
Casey
Casey
fucking
fucking
Ryback.
Ryback. So yeah. So like I said at the beginning, I knew where J-Man was going. So I'm like, yep. I'm like, don't worry, J-Man. I'm there too, because like as much as I love the first one, and it's a great movie, and Tommy Lee Jones is awesome in it, this one just totally kicks it on its ass.
Agreed. Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that everyone's like, it's going to be so one-sided. We're like, yeah, it is, but not the way you were expecting, is it?
So I'm gonna go message that guy back up and like, see.
We got the poll up as well, so you can check that after to see what they say.
Charlie, yeah. I've already seen the results. So Charlie,
I'm left for last, man. This is difficult. Like everyone's right. No one is wrong here tonight. Here's my issue. If I've seen Under Siege 2 100 times, I've watched Under Siege 96 times. Right. You know, it's I literally watch one than the other. And
so is that win by how many times you watch it? That's how you pick the winner? It's like, I see this one more.
Because it has 5 votes already, I am leaning towards Under Siege as being it. Now, here's what I'm going to say.
Oh, he's going to be a black sheep.
Under Siege 2 is the better and probably the best Steven Seagal movie. Under Siege is a great movie. Like, it's almost an ensemble movie with the amount of the cast in it.
Movie.
It is a proper movie.
Fuck that. We're talking about the action.
It's got action in it. You know, it's got so much action in it. Even Steven Seagal's like, I don't want to waste time in Under Siege 2 because he had to figure out nuclear codes to take down missiles and everything at the end of 1 and in the end of 2. And he's like, you mean I can't shut that thing off right there in front of you? And he shoots it and it totally disables it. So I love this has the sequel isms. Everything that we did in the first one, we're going to do it 5 times faster, 5 times more bombastic. And it is it's a fucking blast. Honestly, if I scored these on a piece of paper like J-Man does, they both get the same score. Like literally, like I enjoy both the same amount. I have seen number 2 the most. 1 is the better movie though. And because it's 5-1 and I don't care to do that, I got to throw some love to the first Under Siege. So mine is going Under Siege 1.
You'll be the one who won't get abuse on Facebook then.
I can't wait.
I was gonna say I'll be the only one that likes it. So abuse, come on.
But you know what? Like we all said it. They're both fantastic movies. All in all, these are the top Seagal like 5 movies. Because I agree with J-Man. Marked for Death is one of my also like it would be like number 3. Seriously, I love it. And then the other ones kind of trickle in. You know, Hard to Kill and Above the Law. All these things, and a lot of it is they're just great fucking movies. And then I also love him in Executive Decision, and he's in it the least amount, but he's also probably one of my favorite versions. Like that should have been the end of Casey fucking Ryback right there. Executive Decision should have been Casey Ryback leading in that charge. Okay, he's getting way too fucking old to carry this character on, and we're not going to recast it. Kill him. Sucked right out through there. Now we have Kurt Russell saving the day. But Casey Ryback could have easily been that character in Executive Decision. So I made the trilogy, damn it.
You know what? just reminded me just before we do what before I forget to say it. Like whenever Eric Bogosian gets shot at the end, he's holding the laptop, but then you see him like fall back out the window, and then all of a sudden he's hanging off the ladder. I'm like, you got shot in the stomach and you fell out the window of the fucking train. How are you hanging on to this ladder thing?
He's just barely hanging on to the last bit, man.
Sheer determination to survive.
Yeah.
I wanted to make a point about how they talk up Casey Ryback.
Casey fucking Ryback.
Casey fucking Ryback. You know what though? Like they talk him up and he doesn't take any damage.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Like because a lot of movies like we're sending in our best team and then the team is always killed. Like no, I'm serious. And I'm not trying to even be I'm not trying to joke around. Like they're like, okay, Ryback, he's the best. It's like, yeah, but he actually is. Like he does know what to do. He does defeat them. He barely takes any injuries. So I'm okay with that. Like, in fact, we should be more angry at other movies where like this is the best team and whatever, and then they send them in, then they all just die, or like, except for the main guy, whoever it is. You're like, well, why these guys suck then? Or I know they're trying to say that this is the best team, but this is much better. But the thing is that in these movies, they're still human beings. If this isn't the Marines versus the Xenomorphs, where they don't know what to expect, so they die because the aliens are just awesome, or the Predator, or whatever.
This is their job. This is what
humans.
they're trained to do. Yeah,
right. These are humans. So if they're saying Casey's the best, well, then he should be able to take these guys out because obviously they're not better than he is because they know him and he doesn't care about them. So I think I don't know. I know it's really an ego for Seagal, but it does make sense in a story where you're like, well, this guy literally is the best and he can take them out. So anyway.
I think there's something too I wanted to say. Like, it was such a pleasure watching Under Siege 2 in the theater. There was something about, and that
right.
was a problem with the Flash, right? But like, there was something so fun about seeing action movies in the 90s in the theater. Just the experience. You don't get it nowadays. Now you just walk in and you're like, good God, what's going to happen tonight, during the movie or before the movie or whatever. And it's just like, you have these movies like in the 90s where it was like, it was schlocky and cheese and we can look at them now and laugh, but how we were entertained. We walked out with a smile on our face in all of them. And wasn't that the name of the game? Right. Now we come out here and we just get on the internet and start fighting with other people.
We bitch about it.
It's just weird.
I remember watching Con Air at the drive-through, at the drive-in, and it was fucking amazing. Like, period. Like, that movie was just, it always will be. But it was just that experience. And I've never had a current movie, even Marvel, like, as much as I may enjoy a lot of the Marvel movies and stuff, nothing's ever made me feel like those action movies of the 80s and 90s. But also, it was an experience.
Con Air has the best teaser trailer of all time.
Yes.
100%.
That's the first time I heard that electric guitar theme tune. I was like, that's the greatest theme tune of all time. I need that playing at my wedding.
But I never got the memo that these movies were cheesy. Like, I legitimately liked Cannon. Like, not as a joke. I'm like, no, these are awesome. I literally, when I saw Cannon, I thought, this will be good. There's like that Carloco, there's Cannon, there's a few of those you see.
Yeah.
When you saw that as a kid, you didn't really, you just saw the C coming out.
You knew it. You were like, either this is like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, or Chuck Norris. I don't know who. Yeah, Van Damme.
Right. And then the Cannon.
Until I was like mid-20s or 30s, I didn't understand the connotation of cheesy. You heard it said, because I'm sure there's people that did say it was cheesy back then. But as kids and teenagers, I didn't know these were just badass movies, like every bit of it.
Yes.
But it's part of, it's like, this guy's an invincible hero. But that is what genre is. Like,
isn't that what Greek myths are based off of? Like almost immortal people doing feats of fantastic things. Well, it's like that's what we're fucking seeing on screen now.
Other countries embrace this, and we don't. India is all about that.
India,
oh my
all
God,
the industry's there, and people look at that and say, "Oh, that's cheesy," or they're still into that. No, they want to be entertained. And we used to be like that here, but now, like you were saying about the Marvel movies, not getting that feeling. They're still very stilted. They're still very constrained. Like they're not gleeful about the awesomeness. They're not giddy about it. They're
not apologizing for it. It's like
they're not audacious enough to like.
That's why I like South Korea now. It's like their movies are freaking incredible
The
in terms
music,
of the
yeah.
action and the scope and everything. It's like because I just watched Jungle on Netflix.
Oh,
like,
I was gonna check that out.
Oh, I gotta watch that. Yeah.
oh my god! It's just even the opening scene that it could have been the ending of this movie. It's that fantastic.
Now, and I'm not going to say like these things don't exist, because even they brought it up in the comments. The Gerard Butler movies that have been coming out, like his entire Olympus Has Fallen trilogy.
Yeah.
I want to watch Plane. I haven't seen it yet. And then we are getting these little nuggets back from like Bullet Train and Nobody and Violent Night, even that people are trying to get us back. Yeah,
that's
John
the
Wick
thing.
is the perfect
John Wick
thing about
movies.
it.
They're trying to.
Yeah,
but it's
they're
like,
trying, but they're the closest in the atmosphere we're in now. With at least I am enjoying them. Am I enjoying them more than my old ones? I can't classify that, because these are totally different to me than what the older movies were. So they're a whole nother like almost genre of action to me that I'm enjoying the hell out of. But I still love to throw on Under Siege and Under Siege too.
But John Wick is ridiculous. Like we saw that in the theater, and that's outrageous.
Yeah.
Like it's like
it is
beyond. It's a
He
fantasy
should be dead.
film. It may as well be a
But
fantasy
it's still
film.
kind of
But
grounded-ish.
But everyone loves it. Every time they lean into the genre, everyone loves it.
Yeah.
And it's 1 hour 15 minutes.
Badass.
Yeah, 1 hour 15 minutes. Superman and Lois in one scene. He's got the tights on, the Max Fleischer tights. The proper tights, not materialized or whatever. And fucking the next day, the entire internet's like, "Wow, that was so cool!" Whoa. Right? So obviously, people just want the normal looking Superman, right? It's like whenever and for action, same thing. Same with Marvel. Whatever the best Marvel movies are, is where they leaned into it. It's like Winter Soldier. That's the Winter Soldier. He kicks the shit out of people.
Yeah.
There's no stupid comedy. It's like Captain America gets a shield, they fucking fight it out. And the Winter Soldier's kicking the shit out of people. There's nothing stupid going on. There's no silly crap happening. It's an awesome movie. And people are like, well, that's the best Marvel movie. Right. Because it's a normal movie about heroes. That's all anyone wants.
They're super powered everymen, basically. They don't have like these Thor level powers. They just are stupid strong, can jump. And that's how they depict it in, like Winter Soldier and Captain America, the First Avenger, which are probably my two favorite Marvel movies, because they are the closest. But that's exactly what, plus Tommy Lee Jones and First Avenger.
Oh my god. Anyway, all right, sorry.
We're ranting. This is where we rant.
Okay, so the winner is for us. Actually, no, I'll do the poll first. And,
9 votes.
Actually, it's relatively close. Under Siege 2 is at 44%, with Under Siege at 56%, proving that democracy simply doesn't work.
That's 5 before then, right? So five people voted for Under Siege 1, and 4 people were right. So,
but that's how we're dividing it here, just different variables. Honestly, I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, I enjoy both Under Siege movies. I actually looked it up earlier. The reason why we never got a third one is that there was a feud with Warner Brothers for rights issues or something. So that's why. And so
he had a falling out with his like that Nassau guy. What was his name? Julius Nassau.
Yeah. But surprise, Warner Brothers fucked us out of something else we wanted to watch.
Warner Brothers.
Really make the best decisions.
Woo! Way to go, Warner Brothers.
Yeah. I know. Oh god. Anyway, so the winner is Under Siege 2, and anybody who thinks otherwise is wrong. Sorry, Charlie.
I have to admit that is the one that is still in the DVD player.
Right, stop it.
You know what?
Stop this.
You're like,
I was kind of hoping that I was the only one that liked number 2. I'm like, I'm gonna go with the one that's gonna like number 2. And then when J-Man started talking to begin, I'm like, oh.
It always leads back to my opinion. Don't worry.
Told you, Alex, number 1. What kind of babbling bullshit is this?
There he is. There.
What kind of babbling bullshit is this? Was hilarious because he was absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like he was talking, and even I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, what kind of babbling bullshit is this? I'm like, that pretty much sums it up perfectly.
I was asleep in the cake. That's what happened.
So, I like how he puts her in the locker, and then he just stands there because he's like, I know him. I'm taking her out.
She won't shut up. That is like
yeah.
the most frantic I've ever heard someone hit the locker like that. He's just like
that. I like where she's like, I hate being alone. He's like, do you hate being dead? It's like, I love that line.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the first one has some good lines too. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's got some great lines. I mean, like I said, I have to watch both of them. I can't just watch one. I'm like, no, if I'm going to watch two, I'm going to watch one first.
That's the problem, man. You have to watch both of them. There's something that just lends itself to the other. It is just like, I have to finish this now. I have to finish the Casey fucking Ryback arc is what I mean.
If they ever did Under Siege 3, Casey fucking Ryback, or
that's all they have to name it.
But do like Rambo and call it just Ryback.
Ryback.
That would be badass.
That would be
Ryback.
Cool. Right? There'd be a bunch of this generation's going, what?
Gunner's mate.
Still says that.
We still got shells for those. Yeah. And then, did you see the gunner guy? He's looking like all bewildered. He's like, "What?"
That's right, Adam. Get my pies out of the oven.
Get my pies out of the oven.
If they did, this is what would happen if they did Ryback, though. They do Ryback, then everybody on the internet would go and say, "Oh, after the disappointing part 2, we finally have a proper conclusion to the." This is the typical shit that they always say whenever whenever it's recency bias. Something new comes out, then they pretend that the original was the best, and then everything else that followed was trash. It's like Halloween, Friday 13th, fucking Rambo, like any of these. Like, oh yeah, now this one's redeemed it, right? They all it's the same thing all the time. It's refreshing when someone says, you know what, I liked whatever Dark Territory, and it's like, there you go. It's like, what do you think about that? Well, everyone says it sucks. Well, that everybody's
wrong.
Everybody's wrong. Yeah,
exactly.
I like Ryback to the Future. That's a
good Ryback to the Future.
That is funny.
If he jumped in the DeLorean, that would be the greatest sucks.
Oh wait, or Ryback in black, because he'd always wearing black. So
there you go.
Too. So although these days he'd have the goatee and those weird yellow glasses. So
they cut out the bad puller,
hiding the circles around those eyes.
Yeah. So the winner is Under Siege 2, much to the surprise of everybody, and I can't wait to see the comments. So G-Man, you can just fight everybody. I don't care.
Take them all on for us.
I don't respond to comments anyway. Like, I don't care. So next week, I was just thinking we just do the Roadhouse one next week then. Everyone's got it, because I watched it a few weeks ago, so I don't need to watch it because I don't want to watch anything again. So if everybody's up to date, so you all good with that then? Yeah,
sounds good.
Should about that.
Yep. I don't think I'll have my. It doesn't matter to me. I can watch my copy that I have. I won't have my Blu-ray yet or 4K yet, though. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think I have it till Thursday.
Thursday, you'll get it.
Yeah.
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like a week from tomorrow, I'll have it.
Okay. Okay.
It doesn't matter. We can still do it.
Yeah. I mean, we're just going to be.
I'll hold up my copy and your copy, J-Man.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. You can hold up my copy.
So yeah, we'll do that. So yeah, we'll do Roadhouse, and then the week after I'm back home for my birthday week. So we'll do something else whenever I come back, whenever that is. So we'll just do that.
Cool.
Next week
Sounds
then.
like a plan.
Yeah, already. So hold on, let's see. And after we will kill you, and the man standing next to you. I remember thinking, damn, that's a good idea.
That was awesome.
I thought that was great. I wanted him to be more like that in it. He was too busy sort of being like wacky and crazy and funny.
Yeah.
And I wish he'd been just a bit more intimidating like that, because I thought that was a really good scene. It was really sort of menacing there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say to that.
You also got the why did you not hire this man?
Yeah. I don't know what his price was, but it would have been worth it.
Yeah. The great thing too is that, like, when he's sending guys to take out Ryback and the Marine who was in U.S. Marshals, they don't even worry about Ryback, and he says, "Oh, these guys, Cates and the other guy, they can take out 50 Marines and 100 cooks." And he's eating like food while he's saying.
Yeah, he didn't even give a shit. Yeah.
You literally don't know who's in that locker. You should send you should send 200 men for the cook.
Yeah, but remember that's before they got the file. So
they
didn't know how badass the cook was. So.
You know what's funny is that the most dickish thing any of the villains do in that movie, and it's not Gary Busey drowning his own men; it's spitting in the food. It's like, what kind of monster are you?
I can smell the lard.
It smells like a lard omelet.
Lard omelet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I don't think we're ever going to get Under Siege 3 now. In fact, is Seagal retired? No, I don't even know where he is. He hasn't done anything for a
I
few
think
years.
COVID kind of nixed him, and then he's doing this Russia thing. I don't know what the
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll leave him to that.
he's having fun.
Well, even if he's in a movie, he's not.
No.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I mean, it's like he sits down for most of it.
Well,
and
do
has
you
his
know,
stuntman do
like
everything else, so.
here's the thing, I enjoy Seagal's movies nowadays because they always put a younger guy in there that does all the shit that he used to do. Like he had Byron Mann in a couple of his movies, Bren Foster, you know, so that's like, how can we make Seagal watchable? Oh, let's put some younger guy in doing all the shit.
There's tons of nudity. He does know how to pick them, that's for sure. He's like, you're going to be naked in my next one, and you're naked in the one after that.
The best thing in any of the Seagal movies is Space Ice's videos on them.
Yes.
Whenever he's talking about, is it Belly of the Beast? And he says, whenever you see him waddling away, the body double, and it looks like a kid wearing his dad's clothes.
Yes, that's it.
Black Dawn,
I've watched those videos multiple times than the movies he's making fun.
Oh, that's funny. Could not be. We should just say
Look, Black Dawn. You guys watch Black Dawn, right?
Yes.
That stairway fight. He didn't even try to get the wig to look like his hair. It's like it was the most horrific thing I've ever seen in my life.
The body doubles are hilarious, and then there was one, I can't remember which one it was, but there's someone else doing the voiceover.
The dubbing.
But the guy's French. Because it's French accent. I'm like,
even sound. They didn't even.
You know, he sounds like he's
try.
He sounds normal. Then he sounds like he's from the Bayou. Then he sounds normal. Then it's like, okay, which way are we going here?
That's an interesting question for man. Is Under Siege the first movie where someone goes guns akimbo with crisscross arms? Maybe. It sounds like something that would have been in a Hong Kong movie.
Yeah. That would have probably been
John Woo,
early John Woo stuff. Yeah,
probably. Yeah.
Chow Yun-Fat rocked it way before Seagal.
Yeah. But if anybody can ever find it, I've been looking for Tiger on the Beat for years, right? And I can't seem to find it anywhere.
That should be around.
Yeah.
It's got to be around somewhere.
I can't seem to find it anywhere because I always want to see, because it ends with a fucking chainsaw fight.
Yeah.
Which is on YouTube, which I've watched, and I was like, I need to see this movie. But this is why we need physical media, kids, because I want to watch this. Then stick it on, which you can't, and it's not on any streaming services. It's not even on Amazon that I can find for reasonable price. So,
or YouTube.
That's okay. I just checked, and I have it, so I can loan it to you.
Excellent, thanks, Jim. Of
course he does.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right, we'll wind it up there, I think, unless anybody else wants to hurl abuse at Seagal or talk about the movies or anything. So, all right, so the winner is Under Siege 2, and we'll see you next week just where we shoot the shit about Roadhouse, I guess. So, you guys, what are you doing in your shows this week, J-Man?
Well, tomorrow, and this was planned, we're doing Captain America, the first Avenger versus Captain America, the Winter Soldier.
Which one's going to win?
We're going to do the space. Well, this one is not. We're going to do space on this. So we're going to break it down because I feel that both movies are equally awesome.
They are. Yeah.
Agreed.
So we're going to have to nitpick it, and I actually think this is going to be fun because this will be a fun one because we're going to nitpick the shit. We have to. There's no other way to do it.
Well,
so,
I will not be able to attend because I'll be working, but I'll just let you know my opinion is they all say Shang-Chi is the first martial arts Marvel movie. Fuck that. Winter Soldier was the first martial arts.
Yeah, there's a lot of good fights in it. So that's and then Friday, Sean and I are doing we call it Days of Thunder, the awesome comics of the 90s. And we're on January 1991. So every comic book that came out in January of 1991, Sean and I are going to talk about.
Nice.
That's Friday. So
good deal.
All right, Charlie.
Next week is Action Week, so we are doing. It's Pete took over.
Every week's Action Week, Charlie.
Well, we do horror and action, so it's our action odd, and we gave Pete the reins of the show, our new third co-host, and he picked a movie called Cutie Honey, and it is a anime live action that I can't even describe it right now. Oh my God. Thankfully the episode is hilarious. So if you don't watch the movie, at least check out the episode, because the pain I feel even now doesn't compare to how I felt recording that episode. So yeah, we got that coming out, and don't know what our next live stream is. We'll figure something out.
Yeah. So, well, Roadhouse is next week. So that's next Wednesday at 8 anyway. So we'll see you then. So John, do you have any live streams or anything coming up?
I'm just trying to get back into the swing of things. Like I said,
Yeah,
I was going to
okay.
stop doing it at the end of last year, but now I'm back. But I haven't even done a review, so
Yeah.
I have to.
There hasn't been much going on anyway, to be honest.
Nah, it's slow
No.
and everything in good time, brother.
Yeah, exactly.
I did my
So,
I did my
listen,
top 10 of 2022. That's out now. So
Awesome.
yeah, you all can check that out. Alrighty, so we'll see you all next week. Remember to like and subscribe to everyone's channels. They're all in the chat. And we'll see you all next week. And remember, if you're watching, you are the Action Elite.